Hi guys! So, you're thinking of making a brand new character in Final Fantasy XIV, and you're wondering, is there anything I should know before I do that? Well, here's the title screen. Yours might be a little bit different because it will change based on which installment you have. So mine says Stormblood because that's the latest installment I have. If you have Realm Reborn, you'll see the Realm Reborn title screen. If you have Advent Word as your latest, that's what you'll see. That doesn't matter. What matters is, first and foremost, your data center. So, there are 3 regions: North American, European, and Japanese. Regions matter because this game is very heavy on ping, which is the latency between you and the location of the data center. North America, the centers are located at the moment, it could change at any given time, right? But at the moment, they are on the West Coast in California. The European data centers, I believe, are in Germany, and the Japanese data centers are in Japan. So if you are from North America or South America, ideally you probably will want to go to a North American data center. If you're from Europe or, let's say, Africa or the Middle East, you'll probably want to go to the European data center. If you are in most of Asia, but also in Oceania like Australia, you'll probably want to go to the Japanese data center. This is for ping reasons. Of course, if you know other people that are, in other data centers, you probably want to play with your friends. When it comes to anything, that's the most important. If you have friends, go play with them. It just means if your ping is really high and you find you have a lot of latency, you might want to look into getting a VPN. Which is something you'll probably have to pay for, so it's an extra cost. But then you get to play with your friends, and that's way more important than anything else I'm going to say about these data centers. So keep that in mind. Now, when it comes to the North American data centers, at the moment there's Aether, Primal, and Crystal. Some of these have reputations. These are unofficial ones, but maybe it will be important to you. Aether is known for having a pretty high-end raiding scene, and that's because some of the best teams happen to be there. That being said, unless you're going to be on those best teams, does it really matter all that much? So you're probably thinking more about, okay, but what about the starting raiding scene? And I'm going to tell you, it's pretty equal on all of them, so don't worry about that. But Aether is known for having some of the best raiding scene. Crystal has Balmung and Mateus, which are known for being big roleplay servers, especially Balmung, which gets so congested from having so many people that Mateus became the second one when people couldn't get in there. So that's why it's Balmung and Mateus. Then Primal is kind of an in-between of both. It has a pretty strong raiding scene, but it also has a pretty strong casual scene. To be honest, all of them have pretty strong scenes, it's just some of them are more known for certain things. Now, Crystal, once again, known for its roleplay, is also known for a certain thing called ERP, which is erotic roleplay or sexual roleplay. It used to be you could find these, especially in Ul'dah, one of the starting cities, at the adventure section, but they don't really do that openly anymore. Typically now, when people do ERP, it's more private, so don't go memeing in there. It's actually quite rude. Don't do that. Now, the European data centers. There's Chaos and there's Light. The main difference between those is the non-English language. When it comes to English speaking, they're both about equal. Pick whichever. But if you want to go somewhere with a lot of French speakers, you typically want to go on Chaos because Moogle, the world of Moogle, is pretty well known for having a lot of French speakers. Light is known for having a lot of German speakers, especially on Shiva. So that's where you would go if you want to be with German people. But if you're trying to speak English, they both have high English speaking communities. If you're worried about the raiding scene, a lot of people think Chaos will have a stronger raiding scene. It's hard to tell right now because it's the end of an expansion. So a lot of people have stopped raiding, so it's really hard to tell. But people are assuming Ragnarok will be, the place where a lot of raiders will still be active. But at the same time, it's hard to deny that Light, while it may not have some of the high raiders from Ragnarok, a lot of these servers had pretty healthy raiding scenes in there, so it should honestly even out. That's the assumption. We won't know for sure until Shadowbringers hits with its first raid just how active the raiding scene will be. When it comes to the Japanese data centers, everything's about equal when it comes to everything, whether it's PvP, raiding, roleplay, it's all about equal. The most important factor is whether you're going to be an elemental or the other two. Elemental is a data center that has a lot of English-speaking people. People from Australia, for example. Or people from countries that aren't Japan but are still in Asia, so they want that, good ping. And so they're going to use English as their de facto language to try to communicate. You'll find a lot of those on the server, on the world Tonberry or Kujata. But the reason why I'm focusing on the data center and not the exact worlds, though I am telling you which worlds are causing these reputations, is because worlds don't really matter anymore. Most of the content you can do a crossword party finder and you're good. For the few things that don't have crossword party finder, you can world visit and actually go visit that world to try to do said content because they introduced that very recently. So the actual world you pick does not matter that much anymore. It really is about which data center you're picking. So those are your choices. Ether, Primal, and Crystal are in California. Ether is known for its rating, Crystal is known for its RP, Primal is known for being a good balance of both. European. Chaos is French, Light is German. If you're English speaking, pick whichever. Chaos is supposedly going to have a higher rating scene, but that's not really completely sure. Japanese, if you want to speak English, go to Elemental. If you want to speak Japanese, go to any of them, but probably Gaia or Mana. So, that's your data center. I'm going to pick Primal for the time being. It's going to connect. Now, in my case, it really doesn't matter which will I pick. Now you may be wondering, what's with this legacy stuff? Well, before A Realm Reborn, which is the base game, there was another Final Fantasy XIV that's affectionately known as 1.0. That game tanked really bad, so when they made the next installment, instead of doing an expansion, they remade the game. Though it is still a sequel, not actually remaking the exact base game that was before it. And so legacy servers are servers that existed from back then. It really means nothing anymore, other than it's a server that existed from back then. It used to also mean that they would have a lot more gil, which is a currency, running around, but now with World Visit, gil's going to, even out because people can shop anywhere. So I'm going to pick, doesn't really matter, so I guess I'll pick Behemoth. I'm gonna hit that new character. Yes. So these are the races. Races don't really matter. Pick what you like. Technically speaking, there are different starting attributes, which are your stat points, things like strength or magic, that do differ, but the points are different for only about 2 points. It's so small that nobody cares. There was a point back during A Realm Reborn when the stats were much lower. People might have cared a little bit, people who were trying to min-max, but at this point in the game we have so much stat that a difference of 2 is absolutely irrelevant. Pick what you like. I'm going to go with Lalafell. You've got male, you've got female. I'm picking it. You will have 2 races of each. Pick what you prefer. You've got a whole bunch of customization options. None of these have any effect on gameplay, so once again, it's all about what you want. I'm not going to bother changing anything. No. Now it's going to ask for your character's date of birth. I think you're going to sense a pattern. This does not matter to anything in gameplay. Matter of fact, it has zero effect on anything. So, pick what you want. It's meant to represent your date of birth, so if you want to make it like your real one, you can, but if not, you don't have to. Then there's your patron deity. At one point, it mattered slightly, because what it used to give was stat points for elemental resistances, which have been removed from the game. Bosses don't have that. There's only one area that does, and it's like its own system that doesn't use any of that. So nowadays it means literally nothing. It used to mean something slightly, but now it means absolutely nothing. So pick something. It's just lore at this point. Here's the part that does matter. Your starting class and starting city state. So each class has its own starting city state based on where you're going. But the thing is, it only matters at the very beginning. You can be every job, every class on one character, and you'll be able to travel from the city states pretty early on in the game. So it really is just, what am I starting as? Now, some of the jobs that you might be interested in are not here because some of them you have to unlock later because of when they were introduced. So your starting ones are Gladiator, which becomes a paladin, that is a tank. Pugilist becomes a monk, that is a melee damage dealer. Marauder becomes a warrior, that is a tank. Lancer becomes a dragoon, that is another melee damage dealer. Archer becomes bard, which is a physical ranged damage dealer. Then you've got magic. Conjurer becomes white mage, that is a healer. Thaumaturge becomes black mage, that is a caster, which is a magical ranged damage dealer. Arcanist, technically speaking, starts out also as a magical ranged damage dealer. It has a special quirk where at level 30 you can also become a healer called Scholar, but its technical path until 30 is that of a magical ranged damage dealer, and the Arcanist becomes Summoner. So while you can use that to level up a healer, you won't be able to become said healer until level 30. Each of these is leveled independently. So if you have a Conjurer and you make it level 12, and then you decide, I want to make that Thaumaturge after all, that Thaumaturge is going to be level 1, your Conjurer will still be level 12. You're not going to lose levels. They're just leveled independently, based on their class. So I'm going to pick an Arcanist. Going to confirm all of this stuff. Give yourself a name. Gina, Knight, Guard. That's my name. And then you're going to start the game. Have fun! And bye!